Okay, this video is to demonstrate how to create a piano reduction with the help of some music engraving software. If you have some source files already, sometimes you are lucky and you can find the source files online, in which case you can create a reduction quicker. So in this example, I'm going to use this CPDL edition of Mendelssohn's Advent piece. And you can see here that there's a PDF, and if I click on that, I get I get the notes, but this is only, I can only print this. I can't do anything with this in my editor. However, I have two other files here. One is a Midi file and one is a MusicXML file. Either of these files can be opened in MuseScore. And there are advantages and disadvantages of either one. This one's really clean, but as you can see, it's using all these funny instruments and clefs. I could easily change that. However, I want to use the other one as a demonstration because it has the lyrics and it has some other information and it has some interesting teaching opportunities. So I'm not going to keep that one. I'm going to download the MusicXML file and open it up in MuseScore. Before I do any work on this, I just want to demonstrate that it's also possible to find engraving files on sites like IMSLP. However, you do have to get really lucky. These are more common to find on CPDL, but if you don't find it on CPDL, you could always check IMSLP and see if you get lucky. So here's the Mass in B minor by J.S. Bach, and you can see for each piece, for each submission, sometimes submissions have multiple files. So this first submission is 4 PDF files, and as we go down the list, this submission is 27 PDF files. You'll see many of these submissions have multiple files. This one just has one. So I'm going to go down here and just show you that sometimes you get lucky and you find one of these that has the engraving files. And the finale file, I think you probably can't open in MuseScore. Maybe that's changed recently. But the XML file you can usually open. So sometimes you will get lucky on IMSLP. It's a little rarer than getting lucky on CPDL. So I'm done with that. I'm going to show you now what to do with this. So the idea behind MusicXML files, they're supposed to preserve everything. So you see the title is there and the composer is there. The copyright information is there, and with the lyrics and everything. It's a bit of a mess. That's because MusicXML, even though it's supposed to be a portable format, is not a perfect format. Each score writer has to implement it in their own way, and they've all implemented it slightly different ways. But this is a good starting spot. So I'm going to click on the first measure here. If I click on the measure and not the rest or a specific element of the measure, then I can select the whole measure. I'm going to go to the end of the piece and select the last measure in the lowest staff. That way I can select all of this music. And I'm going to take note of the time signature and the key signature because those won't copy. I think you can also select everything with Control A. Yeah, so these won't copy, but everything else will. So I'm going to hit Control C and start a new file. And in my new file, I want to have all the SATB stuff. And I'm going to need more staves in a minute, but I'll show you how to add those separately. I'm going to keep the time signature, but I'm going to change the key signature. And now I'm done. So I can open up this new file, click on the first measure, and paste in our music. Okay, it's already a lot easier to read. It's missing some of that crap from the formatted file that was formatted in a way that we didn't like, right? Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I need some extra staves to play with. So I'm going to go into layout and show you how to add staves. So I'm clicking add here. I'm adding a new instrument and I'm choosing voice, just a generic voice. And I'm going to need a couple of these. So I'll go ahead and just pop 4 of those in there. Then once you've added them, you can rearrange them. So I can move one, I can move this to the bottom if I want. I can move one, I'm going to move one below the soprano one. You'll see why in a minute. And I'm going to move another one below the altos. Maybe I move this one at the bottom. It doesn't matter. You can move them as you like. And you can also hide them. So I'm going to hide the extra ones that I'm not working with right now. I'm just going to do the right hand. I'm going to go a hand at a time. So I hide the left hand stuff. So now I just have my extra lines and the um, the uh, the treble parts. So first thing I'm going to do is copy this soprano one line before I do anything else. The reason I'm copying the soprano one line is because I'm about to destroy it. So I will copy it and paste it here in this extra line. And I'm just trying to preserve it. I'm just trying to save a copy of it. Because I'm going to use MuseScore's built-in function for combining staves. It's called implode, and it's going to make that line disappear. So I want to save it. So I'm saving it up here at the top. Now I'm selecting the first line of voice 1, which was the soprano line, and all the way to the end of the alto line. And I'm going to use that implode function. What the implode function tries to do is it pops all of the voices into one staff. And you'll see they're all there. They're different colors when they're selected. So you can see there's a pink and an orange and a green and a blue voice. All 4 voices are still there. They're preserved in the music. We can go one step further. We can, do you see these tiny C's? They're going to cause us problems in a minute. I'm going to try and delete them. Yeah. Okay. I think there's one other spot where they exist, but I don't see them. It might cause us another problem. I had a bug with this earlier where I had to like save the file and close it and reopen it, and that did work fine. So if you ever have a bug, you can always try something like that. Okay, anyway, now I'm going to select that line again, and we're going to go one step further. So we're going to hit implode again, and now it's going to try to combine voices if it can. So here, these 4 voices are all the same duration at the same time with the same text. You know, they're very combinable, and it does figure some of that out. So if I hit implode, now they're all, you see they're all in the blue voice. They're all in voice 1, which is great. That worked right here because it was homophonic, but it's not going to work everywhere. Over here, it's still a mess because it has to preserve all those durations, right? So it's still got, looks like it's still got 3 different voices in this measure. It wasn't able to combine all 4. Okay, so now I've got this sort of automatically combined voice. I'm going to take it and drag it toward the bottom. And that's why I saved that soprano line. So now it's still there. I can use it as a reference if I like. And I have my auto combined voice here. And then this one down here, which is where I'm going to do my actual reduction. This is what's going to really be my right hand. And I'm going to just type it in. So I'm going to use the metronome input that MuseScore has and just demonstrate how I do that. So I'm just playing in the part. It's really slow, sorry. And then I get to a measure like this where I've got some intricacies going on. And by looking at it, I can kind of quickly tell that it's 2 C's and then an E on beat 2. And then this C comes on the and of beat 2. So I'm just going to type that in. Oops, I played the wrong note there, but I'm just going to keep going for time. Okay, here I have quite a complicated measure, and that's why I keep the reference. So up here on the reference, I can see there's these 2 high Ds, and they're kind of messing up the spacing. But it looks like the low D and the low F sharp are the actual played notes. And then, well, actually the F sharp isn't played at all. So there's a low D and then 2 high Ds and then a low D. So yeah, that F was actually a tie. So we've got this here. And then we've got F sharp quarter note, this chord on a quarter note, and so on. I can do that all the way through the piece. And then when I'm done, I can hide what you don't need. And now I've got the right hand of my reduction. And I can do the left hand and add it all together. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything else interesting. I told you how to find the files and how to copy them in and how to create the staves. I guess I'll just demonstrate that sometimes it will do a good job. So for example, right here in this section where it was all monophonic, it did do a pretty good job of copying everything. So I can just copy that down if I want. It's kind of up to you. It might not save you time because you might end up Like maybe I want to delete all these dynamics, and there's actually 4 copies of every dynamic because it didn't implode them. Maybe I want to delete these lyrics. Maybe I have other problems, but it could save you time if it happens to reduce things the way you want it to reduce them. So that is how I do this. It takes a moment for sure. Definitely takes some time, but because I had all that source material, I was able to sort of speed through it. And so to me, it was worth the extra time to get the reduction done because I had all that starter material. Maybe that might have cut my input time by a lot. Because otherwise, I'd have to have the score here and figure out for every measure what's going on. Again, it's kind of a personal preference thing, and it's kind of up to how fast you can sort of parse all of those things. But this works for me.